Namaste. I take this opportunity to welcome all the esteemed dignitaries on the dais and all the very, very eminent academicians from eminent institutions across the world, across the country, and from different parts of Gujarat. I especially welcome our Minister of State, Srimati Vasuben Trivedi, for her leadership, especially in the education of girls and their empowerment. For years, she has in her own capacity worked in the higher education sector, both as a faculty member and as a syndicate member of the Saurashtra University, and has tremendous domain knowledge of higher education. We're very privileged to have in our midst Professor Narendra Jadhav, the Honorable Member of the Planning Commission, as a keynote speaker in this session on the way forward. As you may be aware, he has years of experience in the education sector. He was the Vice Chancellor of the Pune University. He has also rendered a very long tenure of service in the Reserve Bank of India, and he currently is also a member of the National Advisory Council, New Delhi, a very lead think tank in India. We're delighted to have Professor Renu Khator with us. Those of you who heard her in the previous session, which was about sharing expectations, must have been struck by some of the metaphors she used, especially the metaphor of grass on a cemetery, which is, I think, the challenge of a lot of us who are leaders and trying to galvanize and get our teams to work. She has a student strength, which we were just educated by her, of about 67,000. And talking of US standards, I think this is by no means a modest or a small number. In fact, we here grapple with what we refer to as paddy cultivation as against the privilege of rose cultivation that people in developed countries have. But when we saw your number of 67,000, we felt the predicaments are not entirely different, though we too grapple with numbers. Welcome, Chancellor and President of Houston University, Texas, Renu Khator. We're delighted to have Professor S.S. Mantha, who is, as you all know, the chairman of the All India Council for Technical Education. He has a very special bond with Gujarat. He has been an alumnus of our own MS University, and I've had the honor of being with him, working under his chairmanship as a part of the subcommittee of CABE. And I must share that a lot of his ideas are very forward-thinking, and we do hope we get the benefit of it and what we're now trying to term as the fruit of ICAI. We're having a session this afternoon on creation of a higher education forum so that this huge density here of so much of knowledge capital doesn't just go away after this meeting, but we are able to galvanize it and harness it into some sustainable, meaningful manner. We're delighted that we have the British Council and the World Bank also supporting this conference. I'm going on with the other way forward parts of my address here. And we're delighted that several leaders from different parts of the world have come together. We have a Principal Secretary, Dr. Hasmukh Arya, who has been a constant guiding force for all of us in detailed planning of this whole event. I would be failing if I do not mention Shri DJ Pandian and his entire team at PDPU. Sir, it's been a pleasure working with your entire team. Similarly, it would also be amiss if I didn't mention the team at SCOPE, the Knowledge Consortium of Gujarat, the Commissionerate of Higher Education, Sri Natarajan and his team at the Commissionerate of Technical Education, and all the esteemed Vice Chancellors of our state, the entire educational stakeholder group, as we call it. I think we all call it the Team Higher Education, THE. And I think all of you have toiled day and night for several months now to make this conference happen. And we do hope the same energy and the same aspiration, collective aspiration, takes all of us forward. As the Commissioner of Higher Education, I only feel my aspiration more strengthened, and I feel we are marching forward to what has been called a learning society, where everyone is a learner, everyone is a teacher, everyone is a student. And this is probably what was articulated by our Honorable Chief Minister yesterday. In fact, I would be also failing if I do not mention the fact that we've been very fortunate in our state that under the dynamic leadership of our Chief Minister, the knowledge sector has flourished, and radical strides have been taken in the field of education. For example, it is our Chief Minister who has conceived and actually given shape to this idea of a children's university, the only one of its kind in the world. But for him, such a university could not have come into existence in such a short time. This is the only university in the whole world completely anchored in education research, extension, and capability building related to all aspects of the child. Now, given that ICAI 2013 has over 1,000 delegates from over 52 countries representing about 251 higher education institutions, it provides a great opportunity for stakeholders and participants to collaborate in a sustained manner by coming together in the Higher Education Forum. And the broad objectives of this forum could be some of the aspirations, some of the expectations that all of you have so nicely articulated in the previous session. So I'll probably not go into it, but ranging from having a way of sustainably meeting, providing a platform for dissemination of new knowledge. For example, we've already created a resource compendium of all the research projects that our PhD students across different universities of the state have done in the last 10 years. So these are all collective resources that could be shared both within the state and with the world at large. We could also create policies that could be, inputs that could be plowed back for people like us who are sitting in the government to be able to formulate policy and implement it. This year, as you already heard yesterday in the inaugural speech of our Honorable Chief Minister, we're also giving a special focus on industry-institution interface. We're very proud that in Gujarat, a lot of lead industrialists have actually come forward to placing their wealth at the disposal of knowledge sector. And we have several universities, to name a few, Nirma University, the Ahmedabad University. We also have examples of the Oro University and Uka Tarsaria University, which have been set up with private capital and by Gujaratis who are not even residing in Gujarat. But I think this is something that we all would like to celebrate. And we'd like to also see if we can develop interdisciplinarity and a multidisciplinary convergence of all that we have to offer. There's another important activity which has been going on across the state for the last 1 year. This is about all the universities coming together, at least the premier ones, in terms of opening up their choices. In the Q&A session that happened a little earlier, there was a gentleman who articulated the lack of introduction of design into the curricula of different universities. Now, happy to share with you that with participation of institutions like the NID, we've actually put together a basic course on introduction to design, which will be available both as an elective, both as a compulsory or a elective course for those students in those universities who wish to take it. This has actually been created by somebody, a very doyen in the design sector called Shri Kumar Vyas. He's an octogenarian and he's helping us actually convert this seminal textbook of his into Gujarati with our own community. So this whole project is also referred to as a multiversity, and we have several interesting members who are a part of it. IIT Gandhinagar, IRMA, MICA, we have the Central University, to name a few. And we do hope the idea is to not duplicate the resources that a university has and allow our students to actually partake. So you're really empowering them with a lot more choices. And it will also facilitate students being able to take up internship. We were talking about the possibility of institution, industry interface, and how our students can actually take up internship in a very committed and in a very focused manner. We are actually trying to establish contact with a large number of industry representatives. We'd like to welcome our Honorable Minister of Education, Shri Bhupendra Singh Chudasama, and Shri Saurabh Patel, the Honorable Minister for Energy. In fact, I'd like to place it before the audience that our Honorable Education Minister, Shri Bhupendra Singh Chudasama, actually started his career as a teacher. And given his deep interest in education and agriculture, just a few days back, he shared with us a dream that he has been nurturing to be able to do some good quality research on the soil health card project. And I think we feel very proud of it, that if the education minister of a state really has inclination and passionate commitment to research, it augurs very well. We are delighted that Shri Saurabh Patel, the Honorable Minister of Energy, who has been a great champion of the cause of internships, and with his guidance and efforts, this year we're going to be able to really forge these partnerships with over 237 industry units with whom active contact has already started. So on this note, we do wish to invite each one of you for the session post-lunch as well, as I said, on the Higher Education Forum and the Multiversity. We'll have an eminent set of speakers, including people like Professor Mohan Kaul, who are here today. They've come all the way from the Commonwealth in UK. They'll all be talking to us. And I once again would like to acknowledge all the eminent educationists from all across the world, different parts of India and Gujarat, eminent industrialists, eminent people from public life, and especially young students for participating in this conference. This conference is and becomes possible only because of your participation. A conference otherwise is an abstract term. It comprises all the minds that have come together. So on this note, I'd like to once again extend a very warm welcome to all of you and hope that ICAI braces itself to be able to take this whole message and what we've all deliberated upon here forward before we meet once again 2 years later. Welcome again. Namaste.